Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the show. What is the show? It's Spider Does Things, brought to you by LTATM.net. Let's talk about the madness, the umbrella that covers everything that we do and that continues to expand. We've got a lot of people who are involved in this expanding project of mine. A lot of people have jumped on board the adventure with your old buddy Spider here, and it's a fun time. We got such a variety of people doing things. I'll get to that in a little bit. But I gotta say, there's a cast news for you. I gotta say, how is everybody? How you doing? The last episode, of course, I had the interview with the author. Well, one member of the writing team, one of the authors of Jack and V, which is out now. It released on the 5th. It's out for Amazon Kindle. It's $3. If you don't have it yet, there's really no excuse not to go get it. It's $2.99, right? It's $2.99. This cat is trying to lay on my mouse so badly, and I don't want him to turn off my. I don't want him to turn off the program here. So that should be out. If you haven't heard the interview, go back and listen to it. It's a great interview. Had a great time. Rob is going to be back on again. Now, this, of course, is Rob from the writing team, Evan Essex. Not Rob from This Uncanny Earth, but the person I interviewed for the Jack and V novel, and we talked about AI. He's going to be on again sometime in the near future. I don't have a set date for it yet, but we are going to talk about the rest of the book, because I hadn't read the whole thing before the interview. I didn't want to give off any spoilers by mistake, but now I'm a lot deeper into it, and we're going to get into that, and we're going to talk about some other things. But things are good over here for the most part. You may have, I don't remember if I talked about it on the last few shows. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it at least once. I booked a show, a musical live performance for me and several other bands in the area at the Vortex in Akron. That was on May 10th, and as of now, that was a few days ago, so we're past it now. And I've got stuff to say about it. I don't want to talk negatively about it, though, because everybody on the bill did really good. All the musicians, everybody did great. I put a lot of effort into promotion, and I thought there was a lot of interest in it, and it just didn't seem to be something that a lot of people wanted to go to, apparently. So we had a really small turnout, which was disappointing. I'm getting kind of used to, and people are going to be like, oh man, that's so sad for you. I'm not saying it as a poor me moment. I'm just saying I'm getting used to being disappointed by the local scene in this part of the state. Because I don't think people know what they like or what they want. Or they're not willing to give things a chance, is what it is. And it's their loss, really, because everybody did a great job. I think we had some fun. I put on a pretty good set. I only screwed up once, and it was an easy fix. But I had a good time, so, whichever. And, so, let's get into a few things that I've noticed over the last few weeks. We're going to get right into it. We're not going to, beat around the bush too much with all this, to use an old expression. I wonder where that came from, beat around the bush. I think it was when people are trying to flush out birds or something, or I don't know. It's something from over in the UK, I think, from older days. I don't remember for sure. Somebody want to look that up? Tell me about it. A colloquialism. But let's talk about console prices. As of this recording, it's been probably at least a week if not just more than a few days, since a bunch of tariffs went into place from the United States across a bunch of other countries. It's all part of the current administration's economic plan to rely more on United States manufacturing and United States goods and things like that by forcing other countries to play by our rules, which I'm not going to give my opinion on all that. Economics is a pretty complicated subject. Some people say, well, no, it's not. The tariffs are definitely bad. And other people are going to say, oh, they're really good. We're on better footing. It's a lot more complicated than good and bad. Good things can happen and bad things can happen. And good things have happened and bad things have happened. And there's no clear idea of how it's going to affect things in the long term until we get there. Economics has ripples. Anything you do on a global scale, on a national to global scale, involving economics and the way goods move between countries, it has ripples. And that, you can't predict what's going to happen. So I'm waiting to see how that plays out. Some things have gotten better. But one of the things we're going to talk about is something that kind of affects me directly, because you guys know I do gaming. I'm a gaming guy. I'm a game guy. And the bulk of my YouTube channel is gaming videos, right? No, I don't always have the latest game or the latest hardware, or, I get things as I get them when I like to get them. Usually I try to get a deal on something, like when it's on sale, or if it's on Game Pass for Microsoft, that kind of thing. But Microsoft is one of the people we're going to talk to. Or not talk to, we're going to talk about. I'm not going to call up Microsoft and be like, hey, let's talk to you about this story. Recently, when I say recently, this was about a week and a half ago at most, Microsoft announced it was raising its Xbox prices, not just for the consoles themselves, but for the peripherals, like the games and everything, too. Now, I already have the most current Microsoft console. I have the Xbox Series X. It's not a digital. It's got the disc built in, so you can play digital or disc, because I wanted options to play everything. I wanted to play my old games. I wanted to play new games. I wanted to play everything. I don't want to limit myself to just digital. I paid... No, I mean, I paid with gift cards, and I got like a bunch of other stuff, and I think I got like a coupon and whatnot. But the console, I think I paid for mine like $450, maybe a little bit less. I don't know for sure. But it was the Series X goes for general retail of $499. And Microsoft, as of a week ago, according to Forbes, they raised the prices of their consoles, with the Series X being one of them, by, on average, 20%. Which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but let's get into the meat of all this here. The Series S digital is with the smaller gigabyte storage. The Series S, I think, is all digital for both versions. I don't think either one has a disc built in. But the cheapest one with the smaller 512 gigabytes of storage was $299, and you could get it on sale some places like Amazon or Best Buy or wherever for like $250. It's now, from Microsoft, $379.99, so $380. According to Forbes, that's a 26% raise. Now, the version with twice the amount of storage, the 1 terabyte, was $350, and now it's $429.99. Okay? The Series X models, the digital one that doesn't have the disc drive built in, was $449.99, and now it's $549.99. So that's $100 more, which is more than I paid for the fully decked out version, which from this article is going from $499.99 on average to $599.99. And not only that, but they're raising the price of the games, like the big games, the biggest ones, the big AAA titles, the ones that everybody wants to play, the Call of Duties and all that other kind of stuff. They're raising those games to $79.99, $80. That's a big difference. Because $80 and up used to be like the premium, the deluxe editions of the games, where you got the extra content and you got extra in-game items and goodies and stuff like that. And now if that's going to be standard for the big games going forward, just for the base game, that's rough. Now, why did they do this? They said, the quote is, market conditions and the rising cost of development. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. But you know what? At the same time, I don't know if it'll stick. But if it does, it's going to affect the rest of the industry. There's still a large number of people who are in the Sony versus Microsoft, PlayStation versus Xbox camp, where this system is obviously better for all these reasons and yours is terrible, and no, ours is better, blah, 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 blah. And the PlayStation folks are already saying things like, well, there's even people from in between that think, oh, guess I'm going to ditch my Xbox and buy a PlayStation because now they're cheaper. But that's pretty short-sighted. And the reason I say that is because when I think it was the PlayStation 4, it was either the 3 or the 4, when one of those systems came out, Sony priced it higher than the equivalent system that Xbox had coming out, deliberately. Not because it was better, because the systems were both pretty close, but because, and they said this, they said they wanted it to appear as the premium option, because they assumed that if you saw it as more expensive, you'd assume it was better. Right? So while right now, Sony's PlayStation models might be cheaper than the Xbox with these price hikes, I don't think that's going to last. I think Sony will raise their prices too, because they won't want to look like the cheap option, right? They won't want to look like, oh, ours is less expensive, so that means it's not as good. Which is bad for everybody. Nobody wants to pay more for this stuff. This stuff is already ridiculously expensive. $500 for a console is pretty high. Why did I spend the money for the console? Because I was able to cut corners. I got it on I had a coupon for something, and what else did I do? I had a bunch of gift cards that I'd been saving from birthdays or something like that. I'd had a lot of stuff saved up, and then I had a lot of like miscellaneous funds that weren't earmarked towards other things in the house. It was gift money, it was things from like holidays and birthdays and whatnot. I'd been saving for this for a long time, right? I don't usually have $500 to spend on anything, much less a game console. But all the stars aligned, and I did it, and I got it, and I'm happy I got it. But, you know, I can't buy this stuff when it's brand new, generally. Because the debut prices like this are ridiculous. But now $80 for games, and I know PlayStation is going to start doing the same thing. They're going to start charging $80 for games to be competitive. because they don't want to look like the cheaper option. But everybody's going to run their sales, and so the industry is going to have more sales to draw people in. Microsoft has their subscription service, and PlayStation has PlayStation Plus, I guess, but I don't know if it's as good. The payment structure is different. On top of that, I know we're focused on Microsoft here for a minute, but let's pivot to Nintendo, because Nintendo has gotten in on this game too. No pun intended. The Switch 2, which is a slightly improved version of the original Switch. It's not that much better from what I've seen, but it's like just the next generation of the Switch, right? The original Switch sells usually between $250 and $299, depending. And when it originally was released in 2017, it was $250. Or no, it was $299. Sorry, my bad. $299. The Switch 2 is selling for $450, for not much more than what you're already getting with the Switch. And the games are automatically, all of its major player games, like all of its any Mario game, anything like that Nintendo is known for, $80 price point. And most of their consoles are produced in China and Vietnam, which are targets of the tariffs. So, and I don't have a good solution for this either. I don't like it. I don't think there's particularly a reason for it. I think all of this stuff was a bit inflated price-wise to begin with. And it didn't need... none of these cost as much to make as they're selling them for. I know there's a lot of people along the chain. There's executives, there's engineers, there's all these people in the chain, but there's a lot of people on that chain that weren't directly involved with it that probably don't need a cut. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that you could remove from that equation that wouldn't affect the bottom line. And I'm not trying to say that the companies are greedy, quote unquote, like the lazy assumption. I'm not trying to say that they're price gouging, but I am trying to say that they got themselves into this position. They got themselves into a corner where they had to start charging certain things, and they had to start manufacturing things certain ways, and it didn't need to be this way. And then they're not the only industry. The auto industry is the same way. It's most of your major technology sectors have backed themselves into this corner with these prices on things, where now they don't have a choice. They've pumped up their budgets, and they've done all this other stuff, and they've got everything razor thin. When it does not cost as much as they're charging for these things, especially if you remove some of the people along the pay structure that aren't actually helping with any of it. And I'm not trying to say that there's a bunch of moochers, that there's a whole bunch of lazy employees in offices sitting there doing nothing. Everybody is doing something. It's just I don't think certain of the positions are necessary towards the final product. Right? You don't need certain departments to do certain things. But whichever, that's how I feel about it. It's going to get worse before it gets better, because that's how technology goes. Technology never goes back price-wise. I mean, look at cell phones. Cell phones, if you just buy them outright, are upwards of almost $1,000 for a phone. Like, I know it's a miniature computer, but it still cannot do everything a computer can do. I know a lot of people are going to tell me, oh, yes, it can. It can do this and this. No. This right here, that I'm doing this recording, the software I'm using for it, you can't use on mobile devices. The Spreaker software, and some people, I'm sure there's a guy out there that's going to be like, oh, that's because it's outdated and it's not adapted to the times. It should be an app. Why should it be an app? Why does it need to devalue itself into an app? Apps are not as good as programs. They aren't. A program has a lot more moving parts as far as the code goes than an app does. That's why apps were invented, to let you do computer-like things on a smartphone. A phone is no substitute for a good, powerful computer. It isn't. You don't have quantum cell phones, but you do have quantum computing. Okay? So that's that. I'm not too keen on the prices for that, but at least I've already got one, and I'm not going to buy another console within a short period of time. There's plenty of life still left in this one. Let's move along to the next, to the obligatory pro wrestling segment that some people probably are going to tune out on, because I know not everybody's into that. And that's fine. You don't have to be. You don't have to listen to every single thing that I got going on the show. I would like it if you did, but you don't got to. You don't have to. If you're not into wrestling, you can tune out for a little while. There's going to be an interesting conversation after this that's not related to wrestling. Okay? But, so WWE Backlash was set this past Saturday, the same day as the show that I had, the musical performance. So I didn't watch it the day of. I watched it the next day. And you had 5 matches. It was a smaller special event as opposed to like a big WrestleMania thing where you have like 2 days, 20 matches, that kind of stuff, right? But overall, it was pretty good. It was meaty. It had a lot of good stuff going for it. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but we're going to talk about the highlights and the end of the cards. The first match had Jacob Fatu, who's, oh man, he's good. He's fantastic. He's just, for his size, he can do some crazy things that are super athletic that I could never do in my lifetime. He's the defending United States champion. There's like 6. You've got the United States Championship, the Intercontinental Championship, the Heavyweight title, the Undisputed title, and you have 2 tag titles. 2 sets of tag titles. That's all the men's titles alone. You also have ladies' titles. We'll get into that separately. But so there's a lot of belts going around. But he's the United States champion. And he was against Damian Priest, who I enjoy watching. Drew McIntyre, who's not bad. LA Knight, who's, he's not bad, but I don't really care for his gimmick. So it was a 4-way match. And Jacob won after, everybody did really well in that match. They all got their moves on. There was a point where Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre have had a grudge against each other for quite a while, since 2 WrestleManias ago. And so they went outside the ring and smashed themselves through tables outside in the crowd, But Jacob Fatu defeated LA Knight due to interference from a guy named Jeff Cobb, who I hadn't seen before and I had never heard of before, but apparently he seems to be. He's going to be another member of this Samoan family called the Bloodline. And he was brought out by Solo Sikoa, who's nominally in charge of what's left of the Bloodline. If you haven't been following along the last few years, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about. But if you have, then you know, and I'm glossing over a lot of it. But Jacob Fatu has been telling Solo, who's technically his boss, he's been telling him, "No, I can defend the championship on my own. I don't need your help. I don't need the team's help. I can do this. Don't interfere with my matches. I'm the guy. I'm the tough guy." And it's been rubbing Solo the wrong way. So he brought in this guy, Jeff Cobb, who's been in the Japanese wrestling scene for quite a while, to do some damage to LA Knight. And it was a no disqualification, because anytime you have 3 or more people in the match, generally, it's no disqualification. So, Jeff Cobb shows up, looks really impressive. Wide, tough-looking dude. But Jacob Fatu was like, "Why'd you bring him here?" He's got this look on his face like, "I didn't need that. What's this all about? Are you replacing me?" You know, you can see the emotions on his face. He didn't say any of this, but you can see the emotions on his face. But it ends up with him being the winner, so he retained the championship. The next match was the women's intercontinental champion, Lyra Valkyria. She comes out with like a pair of wings, like a Valkyrie and things, and she's covered in feathers and stuff. She's got this bird gimmick. And she was against Becky Lynch, who is a longtime mainstay of WWE. She's been popular. She's being the bad guy right now. She's being the bully. And they're fighting over the title, the Intercontinental title. And this was, I wrote it in my notes here, because I wrote notes. This was a long match. Oh my goodness, was it long. And it was intense, and they both did really well. I mean, it was good. But, it took forever to get from the beginning to the end. Lyra ended up winning. She retained the championship against Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch flipped out, attacked her after the match a bunch of times, so it's still up in the air where that feud is going. The next match after that, you had Dominic Mysterio, who's the son of Rey Mysterio. And his gimmick is that he's a sleazy jerk of a son who calls his dad a deadbeat. And he's part of the group called the Judgment Day, and he's a cheater and all kinds of other things. He's the Intercontinental Championship. He's the Intercontinental for the men's champion right now. See, there was a ladies Intercontinental champion, now there's a men's. You gotta have even. Even Stevens. And he was against Pentagon Jr., who's very, very good. He's one of the premier luchadors in the pro wrestling business right now. And Dominic, of course, had interference from all of his team members that distracted the ref, that kind of thing. And then Penta got nailed in the face with a headbutt by El Grande Americano, who's a fake luchador, who's played by Chad Gable. Now, again, if you're not a wrestling person, you won't know any of these names. But if you are, then you'll know. And I'm interested to see where this is going. But Dominic Mysterio ends up with the win. He retains his title. So that's 3 retentions in a row. Which is interesting. Usually they have some things flip-flop, but they didn't. But decent enough match. Not as long as the previous one, which I was happy for. Decent enough. The next match was I don't know. I thought I was going to really dislike this match. But I thought they did it really well. I don't know where it's going to go from here, but I thought they did it really well. Gunther versus Pat McAfee. Now, Pat McAfee, of course, is a sports guy, and he's ESPN. He's got a podcast, but he also does WWE wrestling commentary. He's one of the announcers ringside. And Gunther lost the heavyweight championship recently at WrestleMania. And they'd pumped him up to be the big bully, mean guy who's picking on people, who's really just a jerk. And so the commentary team was talking about it. They'd call him, "Hey, you don't need to act like that. Why are you being such a big jerk?" And obviously kind of biased. So Gunther took offense, and on one of the past shows, he attacked the announcers and tried to beat up Pat McAfee. Now, Pat McAfee, the following week, challenged him to a fight, which you would think, here's the announcer. Now, Pat used to be a football player, and he wasn't terrible. He was a decent enough football player. From what I know, I haven't watched any of his games. You know, I just, from what people have said and some footage that's been posted. But he's like, I'm not going to let you push us around, especially my friend here on commentary. I want a piece of you. So they set up this match at Backlash. And it was, the assumption I had was, of course, Gunther, he's a serious wrestler. He's known for destroying people. That's part of his gimmick, like just being the big, bad foreign menace from Austria where he just doesn't care about you at all, and he's going to break your bones and leave you in pain just because he feels like it, you know? So my assumption was it was going to be a beatdown. And then somebody else was going to run in to rescue Pat, right? Like some good guy. But there weren't any free good guys on the roster. Like, everybody's busy doing other stories. Like, they can't spend the time, you know? So I didn't know how it was going to go, but they had Gunther, of course, be mostly dominating throughout the match. But Pat got a lot of good stuff in. It was clear he'd been training. He'd been trying his best. He got some good shots in. And with a little bit of help from his announcer friend, Michael Cole, who's a longtime WWE announcing alumni. And, but Gunther won, of course, because he was gonna. But it ended up being, the whole thing made sense. It didn't make it look like Pat suddenly was actually going to beat Gunther, because there's no way, because that would make Gunther look weak, and he'd never have good, like, it would be difficult to put him against the other stronger competitors in WWE from then on, right? But they kept it so that Pat was surprising. He surprised him often. But Gunther, you know, still, he's obviously the guy that was going to win, and they did it well. And it was a better match than I thought it was going to be. I'm not going to go into it in detail. But I think anybody who is interested in how a match like that should go, give it a watch. It was better than I thought it was going to be. I did not expect it to be as good as it was, with the obvious way it was supposed to end. But after that, we had the main event. John Cena versus Randy Orton. Now, you know, if you've been watching since WrestleMania, or since before WrestleMania, actually, since all the way back at Elimination Chamber, that John Cena has turned into a bad guy. And he's really good at it. He's really good. He's digging down deep into these really good speeches about how people have treated him badly and all these other, and he's showing this emotion about it, and it's good stuff. It is good stuff. This is some of the best acting he's ever done, to be honest, compared to some of his movies. Not that his movies are terrible, but he just, you know, this is good. And Randy Orton, since WrestleMania, after Cena won the championship and started mocking all the fans and everything, Randy Orton's been targeting him and attacking him and trying to, like, tell him, hey, why are you acting like this, you know? So they have this match, this grudge match, for the title, for the undisputed championship. And it was pretty good, too. They're both classic, not classic like Hulk Hogan style wrestlers, but they're from an era where wrestling, some of it was really good and some of it was really bad. But they know each other really well. It was a slow-paced, it was a wrestling match. It wasn't just a fight. It wasn't just a flashy, like, let's see how many moves we can get off. And it went a lot of ways. They knocked out 2 refs. Randy Orton went crazy and tried to, like, just kick off Cena's head with the soccer kick that he used to do. And the management team came out and they're like, no, you can't do that, you can't. Because Cena had been cheating and everything. And Randy just ends up giving his finisher to every single member of the management team. But then Cena managed to hit him with the belt, hit him in the face, so it's with a loaded weapon basically, and get a ref back in, and he got the win in a dirty way. Which was bound to happen, because Cena's going to hold the belt for a little while this storyline plays out. But all in all, it was a pretty good event. I was impressed for being a smaller event, and for not having a whole lot of things going on as far as like the feuds and stuff. Like, I was impressed. The only thing was that women's match was just too long. Oh, it was so long, and I understand they had to fill time, but my gosh, it just took so long to get to the end. And while it was good, and while they both did really well, I don't think it needed to go that far. Like, it didn't need to have that many close but no cigar moments, right? It was too much. But all in all, a decent event. I liked it. I was pleased with it. So there you go. There's your short review. It's a short review of WWE Backlash 2025. Now, this last part I want to talk about. This is an interesting thing for me. I don't want to give away a bunch of secrets, because there are some unscrupulous people out there who feel like they're in competition with me on this podcasting and this entertainment business stuff. And I don't want to give them the easy button, so to speak. Right? I don't want to give them the secrets to how to defeat me. I'm not the villain trying to... I am a villain. I'm the super villain, right? I am. That's how these things work. But I'm not going to be giving away my evil plan, and I'm not going to give away the secrets to my evil devices and you know, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to give away my weakness. But I do want to help. I do want to talk to some... I want to talk to the budding entertainers out there who are listening. People who might be listening and be like, you know what, I could do a podcast. No, maybe I can't. I don't think I'd be good at it. Or the people who have things going on like a YouTube channel like I do or whatever, and they're looking at their numbers and like, man, I had all these people watch, but nobody liked any of it. Nobody gave me any comments. Whoa, I don't know what else to do. I'm real dejected. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you. Okay? I'm going to give you sort of a guide on some of the things that I've been doing. And I'm going to give you some perspective. All right? This is Spider's Guide to Rebranding, which is kind of an in-joke, but it's also applicable. When I first... Let's go all the way back. Let's go all the way back to the first thing that I tried to do in the entertainment business is I tried to be a full-time musician. I started 26 years ago. I started making music in 1999. I would post demos on the internet of the time onto MySpace and things, and I would give them out to my friends and be like, hey, this is what I'm working on and whatever. And there was a brief break in there where I was working in Beneath the Scars, which is, you know, it was my old metal band that I played keyboard for back in Erie area, the Erie, Girard, Pennsylvania area. And I've put out a lot of music. I've put out a lot of tracks, a lot of products, and I've never really gotten a lot of headway. I get royalties. There are enough people that I get a few bucks every quarter. I get like I don't know, anywhere from $1 something to maybe $5 to $7 quarterly, and then I get other money from other sources that are connected to that. So I've got various royalties, but nothing that you can live off of. It's not sustainable. Because whatever I'm doing, either people just don't like it as much as I do, or they aren't paying attention to it for whatever reason, or I don't know. I think what I'm doing is pretty good. I think my lyrics are generally, most of the time, pretty good. I have a lot of joke songs, but I have a lot of serious stuff that goes on. And maybe it's just my ego talking when I say that I think it's good, that I think people should be paying more attention to it. But at this point in my life, I'm okay with people not giving it the time of day, right? I'm okay with people just basically ignoring what I'm doing. I used to be so upset about it because I'd have friends that I'd be like, hey, check out my stuff. And I'd have so many people tell me, oh, yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. Won't buy a CD. A few people have over the years, and I'm not trying to take away from that. I don't want to, say that nobody has ever done anything to support the music career. But for the most part, people who have told me, yeah, I'm a fan, most of them don't own a shirt. They have never bought an album. They've never bought a single. They've never come to see me on the few times that I've been on stage. There are those people who have, and I appreciate them. But the majority of people who say they will, even close friends, they don't. And I got over it. You got to get over it. You can't take that personal. You can't take that personal. Because a lot of times it's just they figure, oh, he's always going to be around. She's always going to be there to put this stuff out. We don't have to worry about buying it because they'll play their stuff for us all the time. Right? It's not like Metallica, who only comes around to this town once every couple of years, right? They're always going to be here. It's a weird mentality people get into, and you can't break them out of it. And you shouldn't really try. You put the options out there and hope for the best. But later on, of course, I got involved with radio, with internet radio. I got involved in podcasting. I was a co-host as part of another show, which is well documented. I don't want to give that person any more publicity at this point because they don't really deserve it anymore. But I got into doing the podcasting thing, interviewing people, doing the radio show stuff, and I found out that I was pretty good at it. I'm not Rogan or Howard Stern or, any of these people, but I do pretty good. All of you are listening, right? You like it. If you don't like it, you wouldn't be listening. And I see the numbers every week, and the numbers are steadily increasing, so I know you folks out there are listening. And if you really didn't like it, you wouldn't be listening. So thank you, by the way, for tuning in. But when that kind of fell apart, I did a couple things to try to branch out on my own. But I didn't really capitalize on it. I tried to do more music shows. But the issue is, if you're going to do local unsigned music, you have to rely on being able to find a pipeline of all that and keeping it fresh. And it was hard to sustain that. If you're going to try to do like top 40, that kind of stuff, then you have to pay for licenses. You have to pay for all these things. Whereas if you're doing independent music, generally, as long as they're registered with an organization that collects their royalties for them, like ASCAP or BMI or something, you can generally play their songs at a lower level. And they'll get their pay somewhere along the chain. You're not directly responsible for paying for the license to pay them, but they will get paid somewhere. It's complicated, but it works. But they didn't go anywhere. So I started doing the Twitch streaming. Well, you know what? Before that, I started doing the spirits tastings. I started doing the the bourbon and the scotch and that kind of the videos on Facebook. I wasn't even on YouTube at the time. I was just doing that kind of stuff. And I got a little bit of notice, not a lot. So I moved that to YouTube. My YouTube channel started initially as just the Uncanny Spirits Club, right? Got a few subscribers, got a few watches on average, not much. I pivoted, started doing Twitch streaming, and then when I found out I could send my Twitch streams to YouTube after the fact, I started doing that, and that's really where things kind of picked up. I still don't have a lot of views necessarily on individual videos, but I have picked up more people interested as time goes on out of persistence. And then, of course, here I started doing the podcasting again. And instead of trying to keep it focused on a particular topic, it's just me talking to you. It's literally just me picking out some things that I thought were interesting and talking to you about it. As if we're just sitting around a table and us talking. Which I think is the best way to do it. I honestly think the best way to do a podcast is to be personable, is to be friendly, is to frame it like a discussion even if you're not talking to anybody. Because even if there's nobody that I can physically see here, there's still somebody listening and I'm talking to them. I'm talking to you. But I hear people tell me, they're like, hey, you know what, I got 1,000 views on this latest video, so which means people must have liked it, but nobody clicked the like button. There's like 2 likes, or there's no comments. How do I know anybody actually likes it? For reference, okay, I noticed this on YouTube, and I'm surprised I didn't notice it sooner. But for perspective's sake, okay, Rob Zombie, right? He's been around a long time. He's made movies. He's made albums. He's done a lot of stuff. Super popular. He has a song. I'm going to talk about 2 of his songs, not into depth about what the songs are about or what they're like or anything like that. I'm just going to, for perspective. On YouTube, there's a song of his called The Great American Nightmare. And it even features Howard Stern as like a little backing vocal kind of thing. Because it's from Howard Stern's movie back in the day, Private Parts. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it's out there and it was okay. It was like it was a biopic, or a biopic, however you want to say it, biopic. But the video for The Great American Nightmare, it went up in 2018, okay? As of when I took this screenshot, which was just a week or so ago, it had 1,004,097 views. And you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of views. That's pretty good. You want to know how many likes it has? 12,000. This is Rob Zombie with 1 million views. But only 12,000 of those people hit that like button. Even if they liked the song, they didn't hit the button. Because people are fickle. People are what they are. People don't think about these things. They're just like, oh yeah, I viewed the video. I like this song. They don't think to hit the like button, because who cares? What difference would it make? It didn't occur to them. 1 million views, 12,000 likes. The likes don't matter. Right? The likes don't matter. The views count, because that's a lot of people that watched it. And if you have it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 views on your video, I think that's pretty darn good. That's 1,000 people that took at least a minute or 2 to see what was going on with you. Who at least gave you the time of day for a few minutes. It doesn't matter whether they watched for a minute or if they watched for an hour, depending on how long the video is. It doesn't matter. That many people tuned in to watch your stuff. And that's pretty good. That's really good. For another bit of perspective, again with Rob Zombie, to show that this isn't just a fluke, the theme song for his movie, House of a Thousand Corpses, so it's the song House of a Thousand Corpses, has 3 million plus views. Okay? How many likes does it have? 20,000. Think about that. 3 million views, only 20,000 likes. And again, that doesn't mean that the rest of the people that watched it out of that 3 million hated the song. It means that they just didn't bother to hit the like button because they don't care. They like the song, but they don't think about that like button. So when you're trying to put your content out there, when you're trying to put your stuff out there and you see all these people watching and viewing and interacting, but you don't see the likes, you don't see the comments, you don't see that kind of stuff, it's okay. You're not Rob Zombie. I'm not Rob Zombie. But even Rob Zombie cannot get 6 digits of likes on a video that gets millions of views. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's perspective. It's all about perspective. And this is one of the things that really gave me a boost, because I was like, you know what? That's true. That's a big deal. Like, it kind of... And I was already set for what I was doing before I saw these. I'm moving in a direction that I think is positive for me. My subscriber numbers are going up. And that's not a humble brag. That's just, just looking at reality. But when I saw and I noticed this, and I looked at other videos too, and I didn't get screenshots, for example, but I can tell you, the phenomenon is similar across the entirety of the YouTube landscape. And this is just YouTube. This isn't even talking about like Spotify or TikTok or wherever you've got your stuff hosted. Look at the people tuning in. Don't worry about whether they hit that like button or anything like that. Don't worry about that. Watch how many people are tuning in, because they at least had interest for long enough for the algorithm to record that they watched it, or they listened to it, or they paid attention to it. And that's like gold. That's everything in the world. And so if your latest video or your latest whatever you put out and like, oh, nobody liked it, just because they didn't hit the like button does not mean they didn't like it. Cut that part out. Don't worry about that. Don't pay any attention. You see 1,000 views in your video, be like, that's cool. 1,000 people are watching my stuff. That's cool. That's good stuff. And that's my advice to you. Don't look at every single number and assume every single metric is important, because it isn't. You're provided with all this stuff because you're expected to you have to improve all of this because all of this matters, and a lot of it doesn't matter. A lot of it is absolutely meaningless, utter horse shit, to be perfectly honest. Right? I mean, I don't often get into the language on this show, but that's what it is. If you see your subscriber numbers and you see your watch numbers steadily increasing on a regular basis, no matter how slowly, you are succeeding. As long as those numbers keep going up, you're getting somewhere. Whatever you're doing is appealing to somebody. Keep it up. Keep doing it. Don't change everything about you to match what other big content creators are doing. Don't be like Mr. Beast. Don't be like Ninja. Don't be like PewDiePie. Don't, and I'm not talking bad about any of these people. I'm just picking their names out of the ether here as an example. They do their thing. You do your thing. And if your numbers, no matter how small the increase, are increasing, what you're doing is working. You might have to be patient. I have to be patient. It takes a while to start making money on this kind of thing, if that's what you're trying to do. If you're trying to make a career out of it, it takes a while. Unless you're lucky, unless you're maybe a flash in the pan, because some people get huge on TikTok and then they start getting a bunch of money early. Don't rely on that kind of stuff, though. Don't be the one-hit wonder. You want to keep making consistent things and hope for the best. But it's going to take a while. It's going to take time. You're not going to be famous for the right reasons overnight. Right? That's just how it is. And me personally, I don't really want to be famous. I don't want to be like the household name on everybody's lips. I just want to be able to do this as both something that I like to do and something that supports me. Something that's able to pay for my groceries every so often. Pay a bill or two here and there. You know, it's something that I like to do, and I do it in a way that helps me cover my expenses. That's my goal. I don't expect to be Bill Gates or Mr. Beast or, you know, anybody who's making mad money all the time. I don't need to do that. I just would like to cover my expenses, and I think I've hit up on a good plan that'll do that. And that's perspective. It's all about perspective. And that's really all I'm saying. I'm just telling you to have some perspective and to not be discouraged by that lack of likes on your Facebook post or your video or whatever. Nobody really, Facebook is the worst for promotion too, by the way. Facebook used to be, oh yeah, we're a band, we're going to be huge, we're going to use Facebook and we're going to everybody pay attention. It's not like that anymore. Facebook's days, its best days, honestly, are behind it because it's gotten too big for its own good, and it's just one of those things that are in the background. It's not something that people go to for serious things anymore. They go to it for, you know, silly things and to see what their friends are up to, and it's not a great promotional tool anymore. So don't rely 100% on doing Facebook things. Don't pay a whole bunch on Facebook ads. Don't, you know, think outside the box with that kind of stuff. So that's what I got for you. I hope that helps some of you folks. And I'm not coming from a position of, obviously, I'm the most successful person on the internet today, because I'm not. I'm just, what I'm doing is working. And you could try it. You could try to do something that works. And I'd like to see where you go from here. I'd like to see how this affects what you're doing. And, you know, if you want to do a partnership with me and be on my website like a bunch of other people are interested in doing, I would love to host you there. Let's work together. Let's partner up. If you're out there and you're listening and you got a project and you're working on it, let's partner up. Right now I'm doing trade advertising basically. I'm putting people up on my website who are putting me up on their various social things, and we're just doing pro bono stuff back and forth, and it's working. I'm seeing increases in other people's projects based on our association, not because I'm famous and they're like gaining off of my star power, but just because the more people able to promote something, the more promoting you can do. It's common sense. There's strength in numbers, and that's what's working. So if you want to work, if you want to be a part of the process, then get in touch. official.ltatm@google.com. At gmail.com, sorry. official.ltatm@gmail.com. I always forget because it's a Google email, but it's Gmail. Drop me an email. Let me know. Let's work something out. I would love to hear from you. And with that, that's it. That's all I have. It's been a long day. It's going to be a long night. And I have a little bit more sipping to do. I didn't even get to the new game I'm playing. I'm playing Doom: The Dark Ages right now, which just came out. Actually, it's officially not even out till later today as of this episode being released. The 15th. But I got it 2 days early because I sprung for the premium upgrade. I didn't pay for the whole game just yet. I'm playing it on Game Pass, but I paid for the premium upgrade because I had Microsoft reward points to lessen the blow, and eventually I'll buy the whole thing in total. But when you don't have a whole lot to work with, you gotta cut some corners. So I played it. I've been playing it a couple days early, and it's pretty good. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about it in the next show maybe. I thought maybe I'd fit it in with this one, but I'm not going to. I could go past. I'm a minute or so past the hour, but I don't want to. I don't want to make these episodes bloated and kind of out of control. So, but anyway, Doom: The Dark Ages. It's out tomorrow, as of this recording. By the time you hear this, maybe you're going to be playing it, and you're going to have a good time. So let's talk about it. Till next time, of course, though, that's it. That's all I got. I'm going to shuffle off here. And I will see you folks next time. This is your good buddy Spider telling you good night.